You're listening to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM. During the next hour, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catholic Chicago. We are streaming on our YouTube channel, Catholic Chicago, and you can always listen to our programs on 750 AM WNDZ weekdays from 8 to 9 a.m. I'm Cliff Barber, Director of the Archdiocese Black Catholic Initiative. Happy to be here with you. We're going to have a great show today. We're having our second in the series on reducing violence in the Chicago area. And I'm so pleased today. We have a pleasure of having a good friend of mine, someone I've worked with for now several years, and I call her friend, is Kim Limor. She's the Associate Minister at St. Sabina Faith Community. And again, just so fortunate to have her here. She's right in the center of, we know, that very prominent parish on the south side of Chicago. And here to talk with us about this subject of reducing violence in the city of Chicago. Welcome, Kim.
Good morning, Cliff. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for being on this show. Kim and I were just talking before we started that, we're coming out of the pandemic. Obviously, we're coming out really slowly, but it's nice to see some of that behind us. But Kim, we haven't seen each other. We're speaking to each other virtually here, but we haven't seen each other in person for, I think, over a year and a half. We had gotten in the practice of having many meetings together. And I was telling Kim before we started that the last time I saw her was kind of in that period just before everyone was sure that COVID was a real thing. And Kim was in a meeting and she was really sick, and I had been sick a month before. And that was our last meeting in person that I saw her. So it's great that we're on the other end of this, Kim, seeing each other now.
Definitely.
So Kim,
not to get it back again.
Exactly. So Kim, we see Father Pfleger obviously associated with St. Sabina Faith Community there. We see him on he's a very prominent pastor. He's done such great work, civil rights and racial justice, social justice across the city, across the nation, and we're so proud of him and the work he's done. But we know behind the scenes, there are a lot of great people working with him, and you sit right there with him as one of the great leaders there at St. Sabina Faith Community. Tell us a little bit about what you do, just so that all of our listeners know your role there at St. Sabina.
Okay, thanks, Cliff. We use the Black Church title of Associate Minister, but if you want to use the Catholic Church title, I am the Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina.
We'll take either one. It's the same God and the same Jesus Christ.
Pardon me?
I said it's the same God and the same Jesus Christ, so...
Exactly. And so, basically I kind of do a lot of, behind the scenes, gathering. I do sacramental prep for children and adults. Mm-hmm. Since I have an IT background, I'm IT. I say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
But just do a little of everything there, coordinate kind of worship stuff. Liturgies, and just kind of, keep the place running. Yeah,
well, you do a great job. We know there's a lot that happens behind the scenes there, behind Father Pfleger's face on the news, and when we see him in the newspaper. I do want to ask you more personally. I know that there was a period of time when Father Pfleger had to step away, and now he's back. Just your feelings about him being away, and now what's happened as he's come back.
It was very difficult and a very challenging period when he was made to step away. Mm-hmm. And we did our best to, just kind of keep things running, keep the ministry out there, doing the outreach that he has always been proactive in doing. And so now that he's back, it's wonderful. We're busy as ever. Mm-hmm. I said, I always say, he was off for 5.5 months, but we weren't. Um, so, but now, we're in the thick of things with our summer programming, the marches. Just we did a day of service where we had over 300 volunteers that came out and just came across the city and did things. So it's good to have his leadership because he is the driving force and the kind of the vision.
Sure.
He always comes up with these ideas and we have to implement them. So.
Sure. So he comes back really just in a nick of time, in a sense, Kim, because turning to the violence that we're seeing in our city, in some ways, we've never seen it this bad in the city. And what do you attribute this, what might call a spike in violence that we've seen? What you've had a long time in Chicago, you've worked here a long time. What do you attribute it to?
It's just so many different factors. Of course, the pandemic, people being shut up, shut down, shut in, just the lack of hope, especially, the Black community was really affected with COVID. Poor educational system, you can almost go on and on with that. There was an article, I guess, in the Sun-Times yesterday that there have been 126 mass shootings in 6 years, but only 2 convictions. So the criminals feel that there's no consequences. So they can go out and do whatever they want to do. And unfortunately, there's a lot of collateral damage. They're not hitting their target. They're hitting our young babies. We had a young student who just graduated from 8th grade from St. Sabina who was in front of his grandmother's house last week in Morgan Park, got shot twice in the head. And they had to pull the plug on Saturday. So it is just a lot of collateral damage that is out there. And unfortunately, our young kids are truly being affected by this.
Right. And it just seems like there's something about, I know you've been in Chicago a long time. I grew up on the South Side myself. And even when I was growing up, there was gang violence and so forth, but it wasn't on this scale. And there just have been some things in our neighborhood, as you said, a lot of lack of support coming from outside, a lot of, I think, what we would call racial injustice, just ignoring a problem until it gets worse. Seems to be, and now it's coming back to bite us, all of us in the whole city. And what are some of the things, as you think about the work that's going on at St. Sabina and in the area that you're in particularly, do you see hope for reduction in violence anytime soon?
We do. We being people of faith, we have to have hope. And so, we do what we can, in our area. I think, one of the things, we did a gun buyback program last week, which netted us about 162 handguns, 47
Very
rifles,
impressive.
and 1 assault weapon. So a total of 210. Unfortunately, you got to offer money for people to turn in guns, some kind of incentive. But we gave out $25,000, but that doesn't even count because a lot of older people who own guns in their house, or people might break into young people might know that break into their house, steal the guns. So they wanted to turn in their guns also. Unfortunately, we weren't offering any money for that, but we ended up having these $30 Walmart cards that, just give them some kind of token. Say, hey, we appreciate you coming and turning in the guns. And even after we ran out of money, some people came and just turned it in because they just wanted to do that.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Kim. That's wonderful. We're gonna,
like I say, we always have to have hope.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that gun buyback program, and I want to hear more about that. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what you're actually doing in the community. There's so much going on at that St. Sabina Faith community.
have an old bicycle that's not being used? Consider donating it to Catholic Charities Veterans Bike Project of Lake County. Skilled volunteers are refurbishing bicycles to make them safe and ready to be used by veterans to get to and from their new places of work. We also gratefully accept financial contributions that are used to purchase bike helmets and other safety accessories. Our veterans have faithfully served the United States, and now it is our privilege to serve them. For more information on the Veterans Bike Project of Lake County, call 847-782-4219. That's 847-782-4219.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chicago Catholic. I am Cliff Barber, Director of the Black Catholic Initiative here at the Archdiocese of Chicago. I'm speaking with Kim Lymore, who is from St. Sabina Faith Community. We're going to watch a clip here, Kim, from a recent day of service, which was featured all across the news here in Chicago. It's courtesy of ABC 7. I want to ask you a little bit about that day of service and some other things going on at the parish.
Church members at St. Sabina came together for a day of service aimed at beautifying and helping their Southside Chicago community. Ellen Holmes has that story now. It's making us Chicago proud.
Thank you so much.
Neighbors are helping neighbors as the faith community of St. Sabina Church once again takes to the city streets for their annual day of service.
That's what true discipleship is. You know, we are supposed to help one another.
For 6 years, hundreds of the members of the Southside Catholic Church, supported by other organizations, fanned out into several communities, dispensing acts of kindness and love.
Thank you, Father. We love you.
Deborah Cobb was one of the seniors fed by Purpose Over Pain, the group founded by Chicago Fire Commissioner Annette Nance Holt and Pam Bosley, for parents who've lost children to gun violence.
Our way to give back is to pass out food and pass out care baskets to the seniors and show love in the community.
And to the neighborhood's pets as well. Paw Salvation handed out free cat and dog food and more.
The whole aim is to preserve the bond between the owner and his pet.
There were also efforts to feed the homeless and the city's first responders, along with cleaning up vacant lots and a beautification of 79th Street in conjunction with the After School Matters.
I feel like it's really making the community more lively.
While giving away free gift cards, Father Michael Flager of St. Sabina says with all that's going on, many people have lost hope and need to know someone cares.
To be back out and blessing people, which is what we want to do. Just bless them, tell them we love you, we care about you. And people need that.
Evelyn Holmes, ABC 7, Eyewitness News.
Wonderful work there, and Father Flager there. I want to thank him personally on your behalf. You can take that message back to him, Kim. We just love what your community is doing for the Black community specifically, but all across the city of Chicago. I did want to ask you, one of the things I went to visit a couple of years ago, I was out at St. Sabina. I was visiting with Father Flager, and he gave me a wonderful tour of your campus, which is sprawling out there in the Auburn-Gresham area. And I was struck when I first got there of the sign that says St. Sabina Faith Community, and just below it says turning believers into disciples. Turning believers into disciples. And right at the beginning of that video, there was a woman who got on and said, this is part of what it means to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. And I do want to pick up on that theme of, because I think so many people there, you inspire so many people in your community to be active and to be mission and to be on mission in what they're doing. And as we were just talking about, of course, it grieves us all to talk about the violence that we see in our city. But you're putting your money where your mouth is, you as a community, and actually getting out and trying to make a difference. Just want you to talk generally about maybe that day of service and then other things that you do as disciples of Jesus. As you said, our Christian calling to go out to try to make a difference.
Sure, yes. That theme came about a while ago, turning believers into disciples. When people come into the church, they are believers. They believe in God. But the gospel is the DNA. The DNA is social justice. It prompts us to go out and go beyond ourselves and move out of our comfort zones and be a blessing to other people. Mm-hmm. And so that day of service that came out of that, over the last 6 years, we've been doing a day of service where all our ministries get involved. people from other organizations will come and join us. And so we have a day where we fed, we fixed lunches for 600 homeless people. And so it went to some of the shelters and so that they could get blessed in some way. We, the pay it forward was the one where he was giving that, Father Fago was giving out the gift cards to people in line at McDonald's or Subway. We also had another random acts of kindness where people would go out and give out, again, Walmart cards, Subway cards, and McDonald's cards, and just to kind of bless them. And just, it's not a lot, but people really appreciate it. And it's in this time of, coming out of the pandemic. It's kind of hope. There was a lot of hopelessness, a lot of depression, a lot of seclusion during that period. And so to be out among people, it's just a blessing. And so it was wonderful to see, the police and the firemen come by and get food from the armor bearers who were fixing food on the corner. And I can say Purpose Over Pain, which is an organization of parents who have lost their kids to gun violence, which is birthed out of St. Sabina. And so they came and they blessed the community. So it's just wonderful to be a blessing to the community. And also when we do our marches on Friday night, we want to let the community know what we're there for, to offer them hope and give them a chance. So whether it's, telling them about our Employment Resource Center, telling them about our Strong Futures, which is a program from 18 to 24-year-olds who are justice involved, which they have some kind of record.
Yeah. So Kim, I want to ask you guys do so much, on the ground, as you said, mission out there, actually reaching people, accompanying people, and making a difference with your presence with people in the neighborhood and throughout the city. I do want to ask you, obviously, the work that day of service, such a bright day, and everyone is out and giving hope. And as you said, it's a very hopeful feeling coming out of coronavirus. But it is a stark contrast to what we saw 6-9 months ago on our streets over a year ago with the looting downtown and other parts of our city. And, and also the marches. And I do want to ask you, because obviously St. Sabina does a little bit of both. You're out there, giving giving bread to the poor and helping those who are marginalized. But you're also, as you mentioned there, you're marching. You're out, advocating. And how do you see those two? So the advocacy work, because there's a lot of work you do in that regard. Marches, you're advocating with city officials and even in the country. What's the purpose of the advocacy, and do you see that do you see tangible results from that?
I think, when we have the little gang factions that are around in our neighborhoods, and as we were talking about earlier, we had gangs when we were younger, but they were a little more organized, different, but now it's just like everyone is just got their own little gangs. And so what we try to offer the brothers or tell them when we go out, especially on the marches, is that we love them, that they have a purpose from God that is greater than what they're doing, and that we're there for them. And if they need any assistance, to come to St. Sabina and ask. If you have trouble getting out of a gang, come over there and just, we'll help you to do whatever it is to get you either out of the neighborhood or into something more productive. So I that's kind of the purpose of the peace marches. You could be in a neighborhood and not know what's going on at some churches, even though St. Sabina is pretty active and people hear about it a lot, but don't really know specifically about some of the programming that we do. We have an ARC that's considered, our safe haven for young people, for especially after school, when they could be recruited by gangs. And so they can go there and stay until a parent gets home, so that they're not just out there, being game for the gangs.
This has been such a rich discussion, Kim. We're going to take a break now. Please stay with us on Catholic Chicago.
Caring Young adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship program provides a free opportunity for youth living in Lake County to spend time, virtually, with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youths age 9 to 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends and role models who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports each relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that is totally different from remote learning. Virtual group sessions help youth enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today. To learn more, call 312-937-3375. That's 312-937-3375.
Welcome back, everyone, to Catholic Chicago. I'm Cliff Barber, the director of the Black Catholic Initiative of the Archdiocese. I'm here with my special guest, Kim Lymore, from the St. Sabina Faith Community. Kim, we were talking just before the break a little bit about all the work that the community is doing on the ground. And I mentioned to you, obviously, you guys are doing both. You're actually out there being the hands of and eyes and ears of Jesus to people on the streets. The day of service is a good example, but you're also marching and you're advocating. And we were talking a little bit about the results and what you hope for, and we were talking a little earlier about being hopeful. What is it you really hope with the marches, particularly? What is the message you want to get across, and what's the hoped outcome, or what are the anticipated outcomes you'd like to have? Less from maybe your community, but the broader public.
I think the broader vision would be, that we are there for each other. We need each other to survive, as that song says. And so it does take a village to keep all of everything going in our neighborhoods, and to take back our neighborhoods. It's not just one solution. Mm-hmm. There's going to be, the police working with citizens working together with their neighbors, and people taking back their blocks, churches being more proactive in their communities. Besides having church services on Sundays, it just takes a whole lot of work, and it's a big mission,
right?
And it's almost never ending. It is never ending,
right?
There's always something to do, and so we just can't sit back and be content.
You mentioned earlier, Kim, that obviously the day of service, it's one small thing in a way that you can do. I mean, you're obviously pushing against the wind. There's a lot of things to solve, a lot of issues to solve in your neighborhood and across the city. When we saw the marches back after the George Floyd killing, there were throngs of people from all parts of the city, the suburbs, everywhere, who descended on the city. Thousands of them of every race, color, creed, all down there, marching for racial equity and justice. And it was in some ways just a wonderful sight to see all these people. And I wonder how you think about that. Obviously, one of the things I think about is if every one of those persons was also involved in service more days of the week, we'd actually really have a movement on our hands if we had that kind of momentum and intensity that we saw on a day or two. If we could bring that onto the streets or into some of the ministries that you have at St. Sabina, how do you take that momentum and that intensity and so forth that came out of those protests, and how do you translate that into people on the ground?
It was, like I said, it was a wonderful sight, and to turn violent. I mean, even our Walgreens on 79th and Racine has not reopened fully, just the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. So that was a sad part of that. But just everyone just coming together and rallying around one cause. Things can change if we all come together and work together to for a common good, to make our neighborhoods safer. To help those that need that assistance, to get better jobs and a better education. So that momentum was wonderful and can be energizing and hopeful. They say that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. And so we want to continue to be hopeful, even in the midst of everything that's going on.
That's right. Now, I know one of the spiritual heroes of Father Pfleger and probably of your faith community is Martin Luther King. You will have lived through some of, or we're probably quite young, both of us, during the great civil rights work that was done by Martin Luther King in the 1960s. How do you contrast what happened under the leadership of Martin Luther King with today's movement, if you want to call it Black Lives Matter or whatever broader movement, however you want to characterize what's happening today? What would be the similarities and differences in your opinion?
Just like, we brought about the Voting Act during King and had some movement forward as Black people. I think with the Black Lives Matter movement and even the movements that have been birthed since even George Floyd, the racial reckoning, just realizing what Black people have endured over the last 400 years and just bringing that up to the forefront. It's historical. Just learning sometimes our young people don't know about our history. And so having that come up and come out with the, people learning more about the 1619 Project and just learning more about, we weren't brought over here as slaves, we were enslaved. So some of our rhetoric and language around that can change and just continue to keep it moving. There was a lack between King and now. There was a gap where nothing happened. We were content and didn't move the movement forward.
Right.
And so now I think it's important to keep that movement and momentum going as we continue to fight for change.
That's right. And I think so much of, Kim, what you say, if you think about how we came, my own grandfather, when he came here in the Great Migration from the South, he had no money. He only had his love for God, and he had his love for his wife and his children, and he worked a very low-level job. He had an 8th grade education, and he was able to send his kids to college, and I'm here today because of him. And those are the great stories that we have in our community. And the hope, of course, is that through the work you're doing, the work that across this city that you're inspiring, that we can kind of rekindle or come back to those roots of our own culture and our own history, and reach back to the strength that we found through really love of God ultimately, and love of family, and then ultimately love of our neighbor. As you said, when we come together, great things can happen. I just love the example of the St. Sabina Faith community, the way that you've come together in that community to hold hands with those that are in need, so that we can lift up the boats for all of us together. So I want to thank you, Kim. Your work, the work of the St. Sabina Faith community, is so inspiring. May God be with you in that work and continue to bless everyone in your community.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you very much. This is wonderful.
And thanks for joining us today on Catholic Chicago. Remember, you can catch our original Catholic programming every day on WNDZ 750 AM from 8 until 9 AM. And we're streaming whenever you like on our YouTube channel, Catholic Chicago. Nice to be with you.